Any questions? Don?
You know, we've talked about my taking for Daxa, and you talked about dosage. As I recall, in my age range, they prescribed 150 milligrams. Yet, my weight compared to somebody 250, it doesn't make sense. Should it be ratio to the blood volume, or how does it, what's the sensible way of doing that?
Well, the sensible way to do it is to follow the manufacturer's recommendations in the beginning. In the beginning, as you, when you start a treatment. And then your subsequent follow-up, what reaction do you have? Are you having no reaction? Are you having bruising? Are you having bleeding? Is your nose bleeding? Is it blood from your gut? These are the things they need to know. Then they can adjust the dosage. But the recommended dose is how you begin, especially on something new. Oh, I did mention, I think, when I was in practice, I didn't use any new medicine. Medicine had to be there on the market for 3 years before I prescribed it to anybody because of these long-term things that pop up when the FDA says it's okay and you find out later on it's not okay. There were a lot of arthritic drugs, Celebrex, a whole bunch of things, Vioxx for rheumatoid arthritis. Trouble. You need to follow up with your doctor on the dosage. If you're not having any trouble and stuff's effective, then you're on the right dose. And you're a little different than most of us because you exercise. Most of us don't. And you're in good shape, so you should.
Orange is different from most.
Jack?
Do you have you just mentioned the FDA, and that's coming. Do you have a sense of the extent to which its decisions are determined by science as compared with politics?
Well, that's why I read you the 2 articles. The first conference they had on this drug that I talked to you about, there were 20 some people involved. In the second session, 3 years later, there were 33 people involved. And they sat down and discussed this for 20 hours over 2 days before they made a decision. You don't it's very difficult to make a decision once all that money's been spent to investigate a drug, establish it, market it, been out on the market for 4 years. Now you're saying, you're out of business. That's a difficult thing to do. But they did it, and they will do it over and over again if they find that it's the right thing to do.
How are those people selected, right?
Well, I can't answer that because I really don't know. They're all academicians, researchers, and scientists. They're not the general practitioner from the streets. They're not me as an internist in a first-class hospital. They're up high in
The jobs are not political.
No, these are advisory committees. They're not political.
And they're not in the industry.
And they're not in the industry. Well, they may be in the industry. I don't know that.
I don't know either.
All I know is they're the cream of the crop. That's the way I look at it. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. Right?
The length of time that a drug stays in your system.
Yeah.
I had a problem early on with aspirin, and I found out from the doctor that I went to that that'll stay in your system for about 10 days. When I was prescribed a statin, the doctor wanted me to take a half a pill a day. It was a 25 milligram pill, better than half every day. I said, well, how about if I take 1 pill every other day? He said, fine.
Well, I don't know.
Now, do all
Yeah.
drugs stick in your system?
Yeah, every drug has a different half-life.
I see.
Some are short, some are longer. Some last days, some last weeks, some last less than a day. The reason you take an aspirin a day is because that's the cycle, 1 day. It doesn't, if it wasn't for that, if it didn't dissipate sufficiently in a 24-hour period, each day you took one, you build up a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. Pretty soon you reach a toxic level. And that doesn't happen.
When you say aspirin, what milligram level are you talking about?
Well,
81.
I was taking 325 milligrams a day, and I started getting nosebleeds. And the doctor said, then I stopped taking them, and I had finally gotten an appointment with the doctor, and I said, well, I stopped taking aspirin, but I'm still getting nosebleeds. He said, well, how long ago did you stop? I said, 10 days, or 9 days. He said, well, tomorrow you'll stop having nosebleeds.
well,
So what I take now, I cut one of those aspirin in half, and I take that half every other day, and it's fine, I don't get any nosebleeds.
You could take 2 small aspirin, you don't have to cut your pills apart.
well,
You could take 2 81 milligram aspirin.
I could take one a day, that's the equivalent,
yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
getting. So
I have a question.
It's
If
cheap.
you could take 6 different drugs, could you take them all at once?
Sure, you do, you sit down, you have soup, you have salad, you have meat, you have vegetable, you have starch, you have dessert, you have a couple of drinks. Where's all that going? It's all mixed up together. Sure you can. You can take it.
What was your question?
Unless that specifically says don't take it with food, take it on an empty stomach. It just depends on what the drug is and what you're taking it for. But I'm gonna look it up, Frank. I don't think the half-life is 10 days. I don't believe that. I don't think.
So it worked for me.
Yeah.
It works for your
Yeah,
nose.
let's talk about it. It works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of you folks that do things that works for you, fine. Just don't tell anybody else. Because it's anecdotal, and it doesn't count.
Well, they make you stop taking aspirin before you have an operation, 7 days in advance minimum.
Okay, 7 days? All right.
But if you have
Why do
emergency,
you stop aspirin before an operation? Because aspirin affects your platelets, and that's what you're trying to do, is affect your platelets. And you want them all back up to snuff before they put the knife to you.
but if you need emergency surgery, they do it right away.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Because they
Even-
can cover,
Right.
they can cover it.
And they deal with the bleeding.
If they're emergency.
All right, very, very good. Okay, thank you.
That was good. You tried every corner. You tried every corner of the room. You tried every corner of the room.
I moved all around trying, I was close, right here by Don Harvey.
I know.
At first, and I didn't understand what took place. I couldn't hear the sound, but I couldn't understand. So then I
So
started,
you have hearing aids
I had 3 games. No, you can't.
on?
Oh, yeah. And then I got back there by the speaker. Now, maybe they put it down, so that maybe it was coming out from the
You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
It's a worthless cause.
And everybody has different ideas.
Well, I just figured I'm gonna bounce around till I get someplace.
Obviously, being there next to a speaker helps you.
Yeah, I could sit back there and understand it.
Yeah. I wear hearing aids, but I want to sit up close because I really listen.
Well, I do to a certain extent as well.
I really miss it if I live in back far enough that I can't read lips.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not that we're old.
No, we just moved to an old people's home.
We have a different cadence.